How do you mentally process criticism? And what about the other side of the coin? How do you handle praise? We understand that life is full of both criticism and praise. Both can be dangerous, and both at the very same time can be valuable. In this video, I'm going to suggest several biblical principles about handling both criticism or praise. If you process criticism the wrong way, it can deeply discourage you. But at the same time, if you process praise the wrong way, it can inflate your ego, and it too can destroy you. Personally, I deal with both criticism and praise almost every day. And in this video, I want to start with criticism. I hold in my hand 7 pages typed, and it's small font. And the author here makes 15 points of criticism about me. And it's literally entitled An Evaluation of James Johnson. The author here, who I will leave anonymous, is essentially writing a small booklet about little old me. Plus, over the years, as many of you know, I've written over 60 opinion editorials that have been published in secular newspapers. As you can imagine, when presenting Christian worldview in the public square, even if it's loving or gracious, I still receive plenty of criticism for it. And because of some of the stands that we've taken in our community, our church occasionally gets emails and voicemails that sometimes include cussing and threats and, of course, criticism. It's one reason why we have a well-structured security team and a police presence at almost every service at NorthStone Baptist. And of course, I preach 3 or 4 times a week, and like most Bible preachers, I've had people disagree with what I'm preaching or the way I'm preaching it, and they show their disapproval by walking out of the service in protest in the middle of the message. They're critics. And honestly, sometimes they bother me. Sometimes my critics discourage me. I'm saying sometimes I let my critics get to me a little too much. While at the same time, I have people that love me, people that praise me, people that encourage me and compliment me. As a matter of fact, this week I was honored by Pensacola's Micah 6'8" Men as the 2025 Man in the Arena recipient. What an honor. You can see over my shoulder here this Teddy Roosevelt bust. And it was such an honor, and it's something I will cherish for the rest of my life. To receive this is high praise. Similarly, a little more than a year ago, one of my heroes in the faith, Dr. R.B. Willett, honored me by giving me a special coin in front of our church. It was public praise, and his kind words meant the world to me. Plus, our church encourages me in so many ways. At Christmas and Pastor Appreciation Month and on my birthday, they are often full of praise for me with numerous kind words and expressions of their love for me. However, just like criticism can be disheartening and discouraging, too much praise can be intoxicating and even inflating. So from that standpoint, again, both criticism and praise are dangerous. And as I said earlier, they also, though, can be valuable. And I want to explain that. Do you understand that the value of criticism is that sometimes your critics are right? Don't dismiss the criticism just because maybe you don't like their tone, because what they are saying to you might actually be truth. So the first rule of criticism is to consider it. It's the act of a fool to not at least consider constructive or deconstructive criticism. Even if they're tearing you down, deconstructing you, you should take the time to evaluate it and consider it because, again, they might be right. The second rule of criticism is to compartmentalize it. By that, I mean put it where it needs to go. After you've considered it, if their criticism is truth, you should apply it. You put it into effect. If they were speaking the truth to you, that's the compartment that you put it in, the box of application. But if their criticism is unfounded and untrue, you don't apply it, you trash it, you discard it, you might even shred it. That's the compartment that you put it in. You flex your mental muscle and you decide you're not going to think about that anymore. You apply 2 Corinthians 10:5 and you just give it to the Lord. I'm saying after considering it and then compartmentalizing it appropriately, thirdly, you thank God for it. Yes, thank God even for criticism. If your critic was right, thank God that he used the criticism to help you see the light. But if your critic was wrong, you still thank God, and you thank God that your voice is being heard. I'm saying thank Him that you're having an impact. After all, my youth pastor said when I was a teenager, he said, if you want to avoid criticism, then do nothing, be nothing, and say nothing. If you're doing something, then you're going to have critics. So thank God that you're having an impact. Keep doing what God has called you to do in spite of the critics. Never forget that with God's calling comes God's enabling. I'm saying succeed at what God has called you to accomplish and do it for all the right reasons, because remember that success will further aggravate your critics. And while aggravating your critics is debatably a wrong reason to pursue success, it's certainly a nice bonus. But what about the issue of praise? Well, the same general rules apply. Consider it, compartmentalize it, and thank God for it. Sometimes you are so discouraged by your critics that praise can be timely. Praise can lift you up out of a defeated spirit. To know that you have people behind you, encouraging you and praying for you, that can be extremely uplifting and invigorating. But again, make sure that you only let praise help you. Don't let it ruin you. 2 Corinthians 12 is Paul's magnum opus on properly handling his successes. He was very concerned about the danger of being exalted above measure. He knew that it wasn't expedient for him to glory in himself. He knew that that was the act of a fool. Paul handled both negative circumstances as well as positive circumstances in very wise ways. May we do the same. I'm saying be sure to surround yourself with the right kind of people. We all know people who are constantly critical, like everything out of their mouth is negative. It's always a critique. Somebody who is constantly critical, they're a scorner. However, somebody who is all praise all the time is probably a flatterer or a sycophant. So surround yourself with people who love you enough to humbly criticize you when you need it, but they also praise you when it's appropriate. Those are the people who will help you grow as a person. Those people are very valuable to you. I trust that this explanation about handling criticism and praise was strength for your life. And if it was, comment below. Offer either your criticisms or your praise below, because they too can be valuable. And as you apply these biblical things that I described in this video, may we do it exclusively for God's glory.